Hello guys, today we're going to talk about the privatization of the British rail industry. The privatization of the British rail industry was the process of transferring the ownership of railways of Great Britain from the government into private hands. The process began in 1949 and took until 1997 to be completed, which took an incredible 3 years. Oddly enough, before the nationalization of the railways, these companies were almost entirely self-sufficient. This went to the point where railroad companies produced steel in-house, which was then used in the manufacturing of rolling stock and rails. The nationalization saw these gigantic horizontally integrated companies split and their various integrated side businesses assigned to other nationalized companies, such as Railway Air Services Limited, which was a forerunner to the British Airways. Since 1948, British Rails was the operating arm controlled by the BRB, the British Railways Board. Under the government of Margaret Thatcher in 1979, many state-owned businesses were sold off. This was also the fate of the BRB, with the various regulatory functions to be assigned to the newly created Office of Rail Regulator. It was not until Thatcher's successor, John Major, was elected that the railways themselves were privatized. The Railways Act of 1993 was used to finally break all bonds and pass the railway industry into private hands. This process was highly controversial, and for that matter, still is. It was advertised to reduce costs to taxpayers, lower fares, improve customer service and more investment. But its success is highly debated. On the other hand, the decision was never been revoked either, despite the election of the opposition Labour Party, led by Tony Blair. In 2001, we saw the collapse of Railtrack, which resulted in Railtrack assets being sold off to Network Rail, which is a state-owned company. In 2004, track maintenance was also brought in-house under NR.
While launching the project of the privatization of the UK railways, Margaret Thatcher's Prime Minister at the time, John Major, came up with two promises. Oh, what's up, man? Sorry, I'm sorry.
What the f***? Can you explain me two benefits of the privatization of the railways in the UK?
So John Major came up with two promises. He had one project. The first one was to lower the fare to the customer, and the second one was to inject money to invest in order to improve the trade and the train services. Now both of my colleagues are going to describe the fact that the privatization was a failure, and they're going to analyze the impact on the customer and the government.
Sorry, I was just reading my book. After the several accidents between 1997 and 2000, due to a lack of investments in tracks and signalling, direct subsidies were given out to Railtrack to improve their infrastructure of their tracks. But instead of investing all of it in the infrastructure, Railtrack kept subsidies in the amount of £1.5 billion and gave out dividends in the amount of £134 million, even though they had a pre-tax loss of £534 million. When Railtrack asked for further financial support in 2001, Network Rail acquired the company for £500 million. From then on, only 25 to 30% of Railtrack's revenue come from track access charges from train operating companies, and the rest comes from government grants, which were £4 billion in 2011-2012. So basically, the government still keeps the trains running, but instead of investing it to increase the customer surplus, they use it to give out dividends and increase their own profits. But there's also a positive externality arising with the investments in public transport lines, as house prices are expected to increase near the project. For example, when there were £16 billion invested in Crossrail, it was expected that properties within 1 kilometre of the project were about to increase their price by £5.5 billion.
Oh. Nice. And what a sick bottle flip. Cheers, man. I do this every morning when I get out of bed, you know.
Yeah, but can you also name me two negative externalities about the privatization of the British Railway?
And of course, one of the first externalities is the increasing price of every commute. The increasing price of every commute in England. For example, A normal commute from 100 to 150 miles in continental Europe, such as Italy, France or Belgium, costs on average £16. In England, on average, such commutes cost £100, which is 10 times more, and this creates a loss in revenue, a loss in revenue for the railways company, and thus not allowing them to do research and development and to make big investments. I'm coming to my second to my second negative externality. Due to the fact that they can't invest, railways are still running on petrol, and they're consuming and polluting the earth at an incredible level. What I mean is that 25 liters per seat on 150 miles commute is consumed, which creating a dead welfare loss for the society that is not sustainable on the long run.